So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this new webinar, a practical demonstration of continuous integration with ECLAIR, Git, and Jenkins. As usual, this is Lavinia, your host, and our speaker is Roberto Bagnara, who is CTO and Chief Scientist here at BUGSENG, other than a member of the MISRA C and the WG14 working groups. BUGSENG is the creator of the ECLAIR static analysis platform, which allows almost complete automation of the checks for MISRA compliance. I see that many of you are from the automotive sector today, so you'd be interested to know that ECLAIR is also qualifiable for the main functional safety standards, including, of course, ISO 26262. Just a quick note before we start, please write your questions in the Q&A section throughout the entire webinar. So at the end, we can read them and reply straight away. All right, then let's turn this over to Roberto.
Okay, so thank you. I'm not actually sure where to start. So I probably start from the manual just to show that installing the Jenkins plugin of ECLAIR is quite easy. So you basically, in order to install it, you basically go in the Manage Jenkins page. Then there is a plugin manager. There is a tab, a button called Advanced, where you can upload the plugin. And the Jenkins plugin is installed along with the ECLAIR version you have just installed in the Share Jenkins directory. Notice that this is a feature of ECLAIR 3.9. So those of you, so none of you actually have it already, because we are in the process of releasing it. We are now currently being held back by one of our suppliers that is delaying a fix to an issue we have had with their product. So there are just a couple of configurations to be given, and basically you have to tell where the binaries of ECLAIR are installed, and whether you want to use an ECLAIR report proxy. And this is useful if you want to use remote build nodes. And then there is the job configuration, where you need to write a simple command script to run ECLAIR. I will show it to you, and then basically that's it. And then this is sample scripting both for ECLAIR, for Windows and for Linux. And then you add a couple of post-build actions, and then you have a couple of buttons to operate the thing. So it's much better if I show you the entire thing. Here I have a couple of projects. I hope the font is large enough for you to see that there is a project called CRC. And let me go to the project page, and let me go to its configuration, just to show you that it is very easy. So basically, in order to, this is a Git project. I forgot to say this. As announced, this demonstration has to do with the combined use of ECLAIR, Jenkins, and Git. Okay, so for the source code management, I have just to fill in the Git section. I have to say where is the repository. So in this case, the repository is local, is on this machine. I am working on the master branch in this case. And the choice concerning the build triggers, here I have chosen Paul, the SCM system. For the build environment, I have chosen the recommended settings, that is delayed workspace before build starts. This is important if you are not completely sure your clean scripts are correct. For example, here, if you do this, you have the certainty that you build really from scratch, because you start from an empty directory. And then there is a simple scripting to prepare for the execution of ECLAIR, and then there is this invocation to the analyze.sh script that performs the analysis. This for the build. And for the post-build actions, of course, after the build has completed, Jenkins has to save the artifacts, the results of the analysis. And here I'm just saying that the artifacts are contained in a directory that is relative to the project main directory, subdirectory ECLAIR, another directory out, and all the files that are there should be archived by Jenkins. Basically, this means that we archive the database of the ECLAIR findings. For the static analysis tools, we have added, the plugin adds this new tool, which is called ECLAIR. The only configuration that is required is this, and if you accept the defaults, it will be this one. So ECLAIR out project.ecd. .ecd is an ECLAIR database. Okay, so this is all the configuration that is required. Okay, so here I have this pre-made project CRC. I take the occasion of this to show you that indeed much of the thing, so here I was looking at the manual, along with the new version of ECLAIR, we will ship a couple of demo projects. Okay, so and this basically automate everything. So all what I've shown, probably the most quick way of playing with the Jenkins ECLAIR interface will be to just install the demo. The demo is installed automatically by this installation script. Here I am under Linux. There is an identical one, sorry, a functionally identical one for Windows. So let me do this. Install. Okay. So the defaults are all acceptable, even though they are all very dangerous. To start with, I am installing all the project files under /tmp. Why I'm doing this? I'm doing this because I need a directory which is readable and writable by the current user, so Roberto in this case, and should be readable by Jenkins. So instead of assuming that such a directory was available, the installation script of the demo installs under /tmp. You know that under most configurations for the system, /tmp will be completely erased at the next reboot. So you better, if you use it just to understand things, it's okay. But otherwise, if you use installation of the demo as a quick way to install all what is necessary, remember not to accept the default. I'm now accepting the default. Okay, then in order to execute Java application, most systems have a command which is Java, which is basically the interpreter, and I accept the default here. And the script tried this command with the minus version option, and then just confirmed that the Java command on this system corresponds to this version of OpenJDK, which is okay. Okay. Then I have to choose a local URL for for Jenkins. The default is fine, so localhost 88 is okay. Jenkins username, the default is user, and I accept it. And the password, that's another thing that I don't recommend you to do. I am accepting password as the password. Of course, this is the weakest Jenkins account you can imagine. And then everything is automatic. So let me take the occasion of reading this for you. So it installs the Git Forensics Jenkins plugin, which is useful in order for you to understand which commits have, sorry, let me scroll back, which commits have caused a certain violation to appear or disappear. The warnings NG, this is an existing plugin of Jenkins which provides some interesting features I will demonstrate later, and the ECLAIR plugin uses this warnings plugin. And finally, what is installed the ECLAIR Jenkins plugin. Then Jenkins is restarted. An empty Git repository is created in the directory I indicated before. You remember? It's under /tmp. So the directory is called ECLAIR Demo. And then it is populated with files, and one first commit has been done. And finally, I am reminded of a couple of things, which in my case has already been done. So I have instructed the system where ECLAIR is installed. So now, if I go here in Jenkins, I see that this time I have 3 projects under Jenkins. I'm increasing the size of the font. I think that now you can see better. Okay, so this CRC is what I prepared yesterday, and this ECLAIR Demo project is the one that I have already installed. Okay, so it's called Project Demo. We have had the last build, the last and only build. We had it a couple of minutes ago. The build was successful, and we can look at the ECLAIR warnings that are in this build. So we are in Jenkins, the ECLAIR Demo project, the build number 1, and we are looking at ECLAIR warnings. Look at this button. So ECLAIR warnings brings me where you have seen just, and this is restart ECLAIR report server. So the point is that you might have several browser windows around, or it may be the first time in the day where you do the thing, and the report server may not have started. So this button is to make sure the report server is operating. Okay, so there are warnings. How many warnings do we have? We have several warnings, and here we are looking at the issues. So, but let's first let me show you how we mapped the Jenkins functionalities to ECLAIR. The mapping is not 100% satisfactory. And for example, this page is called ECLAIR Warnings. So warnings is not the word that I would have chosen, but we are using the new generation warnings plugin, and it is hard-coded in the plugin. Okay, so I would have called this ECLAIR reports and not ECLAIR warnings. There are reports of ECLAIR that do not convey information about a situation where a warning is appropriate. Another thing is modules. So we have mapped the services to modules. Okay, so this service MC3 R1.1 is MISRA C 2012, the original version, rule 1.1. Okay, and we have 3 violations here. Okay, so these were the modules. Then we can see the counters per directory or per folder. Okay, so you see these are the counters, and we can even see them by 5. So those of you that are users of ECLAIR, you know that there are essentially 2 kinds of reports that ECLAIR can generate. The summary reports, they are basically numbers. They tell you how many violations you have in a certain file. And these numbers can be seen by everybody. So you don't need an ECLAIR license in order to see these counters. However, detailed reports, in order to see detailed reports, you either need a license, an individual license on your machine, or you need a site license in the server. So when you have one of both things, then you can go to issues and you can see the data. But let me continue with order. So here we are seeing counted per file. And then we have categories. So in this project, we are doing an analysis with respect compliance for MISRA C 2012. You know, there are 3 categories of guidelines: the advisory, the required, and the mandatory. And luckily, there is no mandatory guideline that is violated in this project, which is good. Okay. Types. We have mapped the types with the report kind of ECLAIR. You know that when ECLAIR says violation, it is a definite violation. And otherwise, when ECLAIR is not sure, ECLAIR says caution, means maybe a violation. I didn't have enough information in order to come to a conclusion whether it is actually a violation or not. Okay. And then we have the issues. And here, in these issues, you see the individual violations. Okay, so there are many violations here. So let's choose one. This one. You see, now I have an ECLAIR license. Actually, now I have both. I'm using a server that has a site license, and in addition, I even have a local license here. So I can see them. And in particularly, if I go over this, I can see the details. Okay? So in this case, it's a violation of MISRA C 2012, Rule 10.7, that had to do with the essential types. Here we have a mismatch between an expectation about the essential type and the actual essential type that was provided to the left shift operation. So if you are interested in the essential types, we have a webinar recorded on our YouTube channel. I encourage you to go there. Okay, so here, if I click on the plus, I can see some details. Okay, so this can be seen also by people not having an ECLAIR license. So managers, for example, that want simply to monitor how a project is doing, do not need the details, but they need to know how many violations there are and more or less in which files there are. Okay. Now, the other field here is the SCM blames. Okay. So it has to do with, in this case, it is not very interesting because we have only one commit. And so I will move to the other project in order to show you what happens. Okay, so now let us do one thing. Let us go back here and let us choose an issue. So we have, I want to, suppose I want to, okay, so I have, I have used the search in order to restrict the module, so which is the service. Of course, we hope that the new generation warnings will improve. We already had got in touch with the developer, so ideally we will want to rename this module to service, okay, or ECLAIR service. So it would be, for now, you have to know that a module in Jenkins parlance corresponds to a service of ECLAIR. So we have 4 violations here. Okay. Let me go here. Okay, so here we have a violation. Here you see, if you didn't see it already in another webinar, this feature of ECLAIR, whereby you are presented with several areas for the same report. And one of the areas is the source code after pre-processing. Because if I only look at the main area, and this is the only choice you have with most competing tools, you only see initial reminder, and you don't understand in which sense a U is missing here. Okay, so, but if I look at the code after pre-processing, now I understand what happens. So here we have, in fact, an integer literal, which is implicitly unsigned, and so MISRA requires me to add a suffix U to manifest my perfect understanding of the fact that this is unsigned. Okay, so let us fix this. So we need to stick a U after the integer literal of the macro initial reminder. Okay, so let us open here a terminal. Let me increase the size of the font. We have made the very dangerous thing of accepting the default, so it's under ECLAIR Demo. And here we have an SRC, okay? And here are the sources. So initial reminder is the, I think, in crt.c. This was the report, yes. Yeah, c.c. And it is not this one. As the report indicated, it was the version, it was this one, because we are, of course, we are compiling with this macro defined. Otherwise, we would have seen something else. So the point is to add a U suffix here. I do it. I check that I did change what I wanted to change. Here is my modification. Okay, and now I write a commit message saying added U suffix to integer literal. And this was to compliant. The reason of the change is compliance with MISRA C 2012 revision 1 rule 7.2. Okay, I did my commit. So let me go here. What's happening here? You see pending in the quiet period. Now, I am not an expert of Jenkins, so someone else should have made the webinar, but apparently my English is better, so I'm doing it, even though I know Jenkins only a little. I think that Jenkins applies some delay in case you have several commits in a row, so it doesn't immediately start a build. This delay is certainly configurable experimentally. I would say this is, I don't know, around 30 seconds or possibly one minute. Okay, so build number 2 is interesting because, okay, I have now 104 and 2 fixed warnings. Okay, I have fixed 2 warnings. Okay, which one you see? In fact, I have fixed these warnings. This one is fixed, and this one is fixed. We had 2 warnings, even though we fixed only 1 macro. This is quite common. So you may have thousands of violations that are, technically speaking, separate MISRA C violations that are all triggered by 1 macro. So you fix the macro, you may fix thousands of violations in one go. Okay, so so this is good. And in the STS blames, in this case, it shouldn't be a blame. It should be, actually, I should get a pride, I guess, because I made commits that, in fact, resolved these 2 violations. Okay. Of course, it was possible that my commit, another commit, could add violations. However, of course, the word blame is used not in the literal sense. It's a good thing to know what happened and when it happened and because of which commits. Now, here there is also the SRC forensics, which I don't know. It's this has nothing to do with the CLEP. So the SCM blames and SCM forensics, these are features of Jenkins plugins that have nothing to do with the CLEP. So I leave it to Jenkins experts to play with those. So the only thing that we did is to make sure that ECLAIR plays nicely with all this existing work. Okay, so this was the demo. I have started with the demo. The advantage was that the installation is completely done for me, and I have a first project that I can start playing with it. Okay, so I have to show to explain that there is nothing really magic. So one might think, hey, but maybe these scripts are incredibly complex. This is clean.sh, which is used to clean the project. Now, this is a Ninja-based project, so it's sort of make, if you want. No, it's the equivalent of make clean if you use it to make. Build sh, it's similar to an invocation of make, okay, and so it's really easy. The analysis script, there are examples in the manual. So if you have ever used ECLAIR from a script using adapting one of the many demo projects that are available on our issue tracking system or following examples in the manual, you know that basically the thing is that you run the build in an ECLAIR environment. The ECLAIR environment is created by a program called ECLAIR env, okay? And you basically give it a configuration file in ECL format, okay? And then the thing here is that you use ECLAIR report in order to produce reports. Okay, and the basic thing about this is that you have to create a report in Jenkins format. So you have to tell ECLAIR report to produce this file jenkins.xml that will then be used by Jenkins to do the job. So now I have prepared yesterday. I've started with ECLAIR Demo. And I have produced a number of commits in order to, I've renamed the project. So then I basically redid what I did in a webinar some time ago, where I started on a project with a certain number of violations, so 141, I would say, and I'm bringing the number of violations to 0. I did this in 26 commits. Okay, very small. I've considered basically one rule at a time. Okay, and I did this in order to show you this aspect. So the nice thing of this plugin that allows you to look at trends, for example. Okay, so here we have the low are the advisory guidelines, whereas normal are the required guidelines. As I said, in this project we don't have any violation of the mandatory guideline. Okay, so you see what happens. So in this commit, the number of violations decreased until the point where it reached 0 at build 26. Okay, so let me show you something now about this. Okay, so here in this part, you have many things that you can see. So first, you have this overview. Here we are looking at the build number 14. At the build number 14, we had 9 violation of advisory guidelines and 33 violations of required guidelines. One of the things that surprises me is that the Jenkins people have chosen colors that are not very dissimilar from one another. So I would prefer to have much more contrast. And as I said, we are in touch with the team that develops the new generation warnings plugin to see whether this thing can improve it or become configurable. And here, this is you have already understood what is this for. Here I can know how many violations and how they what are the numbers as the builds go on. I am focusing on build number 14 now. And there are other graphs which, well, I don't, as I said, I don't know ECLAIR. Sorry, I don't know Jenkins. I know ECLAIR very well. I don't know Jenkins. So here is, in theory, if you have other checkers, you may have this. This is for ECLAIR alone, and here you can have it with other. Let's say that you are monitoring at the same time the reports by ECLAIR and the warnings given by the compiler. So if I understand correctly, in this graph, if I had also added monitoring of the compiler warnings, here I would have another line showing how the number of warnings given was increased or decreased. And here we have another graph that shows the number of violations, the number of reports that were fixed, and the number that were new. So you see that my commits have not been monotonic for all the guidelines, and this is quite frequent. So it is quite frequent that you fix a violation and you introduce another violation. Okay, I've done worse than this. So and this is normal. So you see that in this commit, I have fixed 12 violations, but I've added 4 new violations. Okay. So this is not worrying at all. And here we are back where we were. So let me show you the mistake I did, I think, in this added missing comment closure. So this was my commit. I have used the feature of ECLAIR whereby I can justify a violation by adding a comment, So what was what I wanted to fix here? Okay. You see, I had added, there is a violation, there was a residual violation of Directive 4.13, saying that basically at this point where fprintf is called, we were not sure whether this stream was valid or not. So I have added this specially formatted comment that you can find in the manual and that I illustrated in other webinars, whereby you use this this marker. So capital E stands for ECLAIR. This is configurable. If you want to change it, you can use another one. And here I've said ECLAIR hide this violation for this and the following 3 lines, because we assume the implementation provides a valid std stream. And what I did, I forgot to close this comment. Okay, this comment is not closed, so I violated rule 3.1, which is precisely warning about these kind of things. So, and this was the last but one commit, and I fixed it in commit 26, added missing comment closure, which is the comment I show you. Okay, good. So what else need I showing? Okay, so there are some things you can play with depending on how better you work. Let me move to a build where still we had more violations. So this build 17, for example. Okay, so there were 28 warnings here, and now I'm in issues. You see that by default we have mouse over preview. So mouse over preview is this: when the mouse goes over the file name of a violation, a preview window opens. Okay, so this may be annoying, especially may be annoying if you don't have a valid ECLAIR license. So managers that only want to monitor things, they can use any PC, even without a valid license installed, and even if the server doesn't have a site license, and in this case, it will be annoying for them because they would see a void, an empty window opening, so they will disable this. Okay, so this will not happen. Okay, and the other, which is disabled by default, and I don't know if now I'm using a laptop, if it makes sense. So if you may choose, instead of having these preview windows to open in the same window we are looking at, you may choose to select a different window, okay, where all the previews will be shown. So now it's difficult for me to show this. Let me see if I succeed by moving, just to give you an idea of what it does. So you see that the preview, you can only see part of it, but the previews are opening in this other window. Okay, so depending if you are using a big screen, it might be worthwhile to have to use this feature so that you will not have half of your current window covered by the preview. Okay. Then another feature you might be interested in is the fact that you can filter things. So here we are looking at ECLAIR warnings, but we may want to look only at the required. Okay, you see, we are looking at CRC, build 17, the warnings, but only the required. And maybe we want to focus only on a certain file. So we can go here, you see, category required file crc.c. So this is called multi-level filtering, which can be useful if you want to concentrate, as is often the case, on one thing at a time. Okay, and what else? Of course, here you can order the different columns by different criteria. So here is numerically increasing or decreasing. So these are standard features of Jenkins and of the new generation warnings plugin. And okay, so I think that I have shown more or less everything that I wanted to show. So if you have questions,
Roberto, would you like? Thank you. Would you like to know our attendees saying about the developing schedule we have right now? Shall we launch a quick poll?
Yes, sure. And while you think about questions, yes, let's do this poll. This is very interesting. While you launch the poll, I will explain why we are making this poll. So I don't see it, but okay, now I see it. So we want your advice because we need to prioritize for the development. So we have started this with the interface with respect to Eclipse-based plugins, and we also have Visual Studio Code already implemented. Now we have Jenkins. We will look to prioritize the interfaces with respect to other. And if you don't find what you are interested in, so here we have the choice between Visual Studio, JetBrains derivatives, for example, CLion, NetBeans derivatives, for example, Microchip, MPLab X, and GitHub and GitLab. Okay, so for GitHub and GitLab, I'm not sure, probably it will be just a matter of producing some sample scripting. It will not be a plugin in the stricter sense. I don't know. I'm not familiar. So with these things, we just want to collect your views in order to prioritize what goes next.
So I
Okay,
show
thank you.
the results, right? Can I?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have all the information. We have all the information.
Thank you, guys.
We need.
Okay. So shall
Okay.
we go on with questions?
Yes.
Okay, so does the plugin support Jenkins multi-configuration projects?
Yes, yes, it does. It's actually it's quite a nice feature. We are using it with one of our partners who develops a sort of operating system, so a lightweight operating system that has dozens of different configurations. And with this multi-configuration things, it means that you, with a single Jenkins project, you are able to monitor all the different configurations. So different configuration meaning different compilers, different configuration for the optional parts of the project you are using or not using in any given instance. So this is very, very, very interesting, and it works well with the ECLAIR Jenkins plugin.
Okay, so next question. Can I download the archived ECD and consult it locally?
Yes, yes, you can certainly do this. Take into account that in order to do this, you need to use the same, the same version of ECLAIR. Meaning, for example, if you are using, if you pass from 3.9 to 3.9.1, this is a patch release. In patch releases, the format of the database is guaranteed to be maintained, so they are compatible. Okay, so you can take the build artifact, which I'm now showing on the screen. You see this project.tcd. You can download it. You can copy your local machine, and you can browse it locally and do what you want. However, from passing from 3.9 point something to 3.10, then it is not guaranteed that the database form will be the same. So with this in mind, you can certainly download the archived ECD and consult it locally. Yeah.
Thank you. Last question. Does the plugin support Jenkins distributed builds?
Yes, sure. So you can have build nodes. Of course, build nodes must have an ECLAIR license. It will be able to run ECLAIR. Typically, you want a node-locked license in build nodes and other kind of servers, but yes, they are supported. I see another question.
Yes, it came in the moment. So analyses are triggered by commits automatically.
Yes, yes. This is what I've shown before when I committed in the demo project. The build started automatically, but this is a configuration, so you can configure things differently. So let me show you more or less what is the area in which you have to act. So you can, for example, build periodically or trigger builds remotely. So there are many options. The only one that I personally use it is here, a schedule. So here you can say build every hour or build every day or build every night. And the format is similar to the format cron. Cron is a utility, a Unix utility that allows specifying the timings of periodical tasks. So yes, you can trigger it by commit, or you can trigger it in other ways. And another thing that I will show in a future webinar or video, I don't know, it will be the combined use of ECLAIR. So something that we have talked about already in this series of webinars. Basically, the idea is that you may want to have ECLAIR running on the server, especially for system-wide rules, rules that involve the entire project. Whereas you may want to have on the developer desktop an ECLAIR installation that analyzes only the single translation unit guidelines. And an additional thing that can be done is that you can define some rules to be preconditions for commits. Okay, so you cannot commit anything in the public, in the shared Git repository. Git, I say Git, but maybe SVN or any other thing. It doesn't really matter. You cannot commit unless for a certain subset of rule you don't have any violations. So in this case, the developer will be able to run ECLAIR on its own PC to make sure the change meets this requirement, and then only then commit to the remote repository. And the remote repository, the server hosting the remote repository can double check that indeed this change can go in because it doesn't violate that set of rules.
Okay, Roberto, right on time. Well done.
Okay.
So thank you, and a special thanks to all of you for being with us today. Of course, if you have more questions, you can always drop us an email at info@bugseng.com. Also, if you want to have a chat about your projects, or more specifically, if you need to comply with MISRA, the BUGSENG team will be more than happy to guide you through it and also provide you with highly specialized training and consulting services. Hold on just a second and let me remind you that next webinar is MISRA deviation permits, giant time and money savers. And this will be on October 27th at our usual time. So if you haven't already, head over to bugseng.com/webinars and register. And that was it from us today. Thanks again. We look forward to hearing from you all very, very soon, and see you next time. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.